Next, we have a couple information items. So first, we'll go to the Michigan School Funding Budget Update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So in January, we had the Revenue Consensus Conference, and then we had the State of the Union by the governor, and then a few days later, she presented her budget. So today, we will show some of the highlights of the proposed budget for the school aid fund. So the numbers that we'll be showing is based on an enrollment of 18,012 students, which is approximately 96 students higher than what we have this year. So the governor proposed for our school district an increase of $150 per FTE full-time equivalent of students. So the impact to our school district is approximately $2.7 million increase if it's a proposal at this time. So the Senate and the House will also have their proposals, and then eventually they'll come to an agreement. So this is just the proposal at this point. So this $2.7 million is flexible money, so it can be used for salaries, benefits, and anything the school districts, for the operations of the school district. Also, the governor proposed an increase of the categorical from 2% to 4.2%. So since with special education, the state reimburses us, it's in this, basically the school code, and there was, back in the 90s, there were some lawsuits regarding special education, and the state agreed that they will reimburse us 28.6138%. So that's basically guaranteed. The last year, the governor proposed an additional 4%, and then eventually ended up being 2% additional reimbursement for special education, which is a categorical. So categoricals can come and go by year. It is not guaranteed, basically. So this year, the governor again is proposing an increase to 4.2% for the categorical versus the 2%. So that increase for us is an additional $1.1 million. And again, this money, because it is money that we have already spent and it's reimbursed to us, again, this is flexible money and it can be used for any of our operations. Also, the governor proposed to increase at risk for our school district, which is a little bit complicated, but I'll try to explain it. At risk, it is reimbursed based on every free application for lunch, breakfast and lunch. So the reimbursement is 11.5%, whatever your foundation is. That is if you're a school district who is at the basic or mid-level of funding. So we're above that. Because we're a whole harmless school district, until a few years ago, we were receiving nothing as far as at risk is concerned. So then we lobbied our politicians and so forth, and they agreed to give us 30%. So we receive 11.5% of our applications that we have, and we have approximately 21% is on free, and then we have another 3% or so that are on reduced. So we only get reimbursed for the frees. So also the state prorates down because they don't have enough money to pay everybody at what they're supposed to be paid. So there's an additional reduction of another 21%. So based on that, our school district should be receiving approximately $4.2 million, and then when it's reduced down to $3.3 million. And then the 30% is approximately, we receive right now, $998,000. So by increasing the reimbursement from the 30% to increase it to 50% for a school district like us, it will be an approximate another 666,000. Now, this money, it is not flexible money. It is a categorical, but it acts like a grant, and it can only be used to provide prescribed services to children that are identified with a variety of risk factors. So in summary, based on what the governor proposed, that will provide approximately $4.5 million more dollars per FTE. For the school district, which is approximately $250 per FTE. But $3.8 million of the money is flexible. The other $666,000 is not. Also, the governor proposed some other changes. Some of the money will be basically, it will go to the ISD for early childhood, and then from the ISD, some of it will be coming to Ann Arbor Public Schools. But again, that money is grant money, and it will not affect the bottom line, so there will be a reimbursement. Also, there was an item on the approximately $25 million statewide that the governor proposed to go to school districts, and then the school districts would give it to teachers for reimbursement for supplies that teachers buy. So we don't have any details how much it is per teacher yet, but if that is approved, that will be money that will come in the school district, and then we'll be giving it to teachers. So that, again, it will not affect the bottom line. So, like I mentioned earlier, the governor proposed this proposal. Then the House and the Senate, they will hopefully present their budget proposals in March through May. And we know in May there is another revenue consensus conference. And then hopefully early June, we would hope. Last year it went to September 30th. So we'll see how this year goes. But as far as the school district is concerned, we need to approve a budget by June 30 at the latest. Be more than happy to answer any questions.
Trustee Kelly?
Thank you. I think that last slide is maybe the one that just can be summarized, don't count our eggs before they hatch, because the governor is a friend of education, and she can make all the proposals in the world, but we still have a House and a Senate that maybe not as friendly. So I look forward to your updates later in the year to see where we might more realistically land. I do have a question about the at-risk money. I understand that it's treated like grant money and needs to be spent in very specific ways for eligible students. Can you describe what types of services that might include?
Sure. So some of the factors that risk factors, it could be your student is behind in math, in reading, so there will be tutoring, additional assistance for that. It could be for security. It could be counseling, those type of services, nursing services. So there's a variety of those more support services. They're supposed to supplement, not supplant.
Trustee Nelson?
My comments are very consistent with those of Trustee Kelly. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the governor proposed a 1.5x formula last year, and we ended up with half the 2x formula. So if the players are the same, that slide it's optimistic that the governor's proposal would be approved. The second thing is on the special education money. A year ago, the governor proposed that 50%, and it was reduced to 30%. And again, given the similar players, I'm not counting those eggs either. I'm hopeful, and I really appreciate what the governor's done, but it didn't go through last year, and the fact that it didn't hurt our revenues.
Trustee Lazarus?
Thank you. The at-risk money, the census is coming up, the 2020 census, and I was curious to understand does the census money, when you said we don't have enough money, so it gets reduced down, does the census have anything to do with the amount of money that federal funds are given to the state to dole out for these types of needs? So the more accurate our number is, the higher our funding level is?
Yes, but I will try to clarify a couple of things. The at-risk money that we're talking about, this is state money. This is not money that comes from the federal government. What does come from the federal government is the Title I, which is very similar to at-risk, and that comes from the federal government. The Title II, which is we use for professional development, primarily for teachers. So those type of funds that come from the federal government, especially the title funds, they're definitely affected by the census. And the more accurate the census, the higher the number, the more money we receive.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, great.